Hey, I'm Craig Christoffersen. Welcome to Let the Lighting TV. Today we've got the Samyang 35mm T1.9 FE VAF lens. Now we are reviewing this for the Sony E mount on the Sony A7IV camera body. And the 35mm is on the camera body right now at T2.5, I believe. So, Samyang is advertising these as the world's first cinematic autofocus lens lineup. And the 35mm today is coming in at a price point of $600 US. So these lenses come in a set of the 20, 24, 35, 45, 75, and 100mm options. So you can mix and match, combo however you would like. And these are cine lenses, which means you would expect them to have the controls on the camera bodies in similar positions so that they are easily swappable. And you would also probably desire them for them to be the exact same weight, height, length, and they all have the control features in the same locations, which of course these cinematic lenses match perfectly. In fact, they match so well that this is the 24, and I'll take the cap here. This is the 75, and we've got them coming in the exact same dimensions. Also, the same center of gravity. They've got the same weighting as well. So that makes, if you are, for example, a gimbal operator, you're using a gimbal in your production, that's gonna make swapping these lenses so easy. Not to mention, right, this is the size of the 75. It's super light, which means as well as being very small. So that's gonna travel incredibly well, and you can pack a bunch of these in one bag and they're not gonna take up a bunch of space. So that is really a huge bonus factor of these lenses and what they are going to offer. So let's go to the headline features of the lens today. It's a 35mm T1.9 cinema lens with autofocus. It supports sensors up to 8K. It is compact and lightweight. It can be used wonderful for gimbals, but they're also advertising it for drones. I don't have a compatible drone for this lens here today, so this is just a camera review. Now, it does come with a feature of an LED tally lamp on the front and on the side of the lens, which I tend to like. It gives me something to look at whenever I'm looking at the camera rather than just looking at the actual whole of the lens. So it gives me a little point of focus that is also going to direct my eyes in a good way, and I'm not actually checking out the viewfinder the whole time. So I like the tally lamp. Others may provide different feedback. I'm a fan of it. It's got a custom function switch for focus saving, although you can switch that out for whatever you would like. It's got a 58mm filter thread, and it also has accessory options for the front of the lens. You'll notice there's a little electronic kind of attachment area up here on the front of the lens, and that comes with an attachment, an add-on attachment of its own, which we will get into later today in the review. Now, all of these lenses are color matched to avoid shifts when you are swapping lenses. So that means, you're using a 24mm in a certain frame in a certain shooting area and you want to swap out to the 75, your colors are going to be the same. It's going to make color grading very simple, very easy. You're not going to have to try and color match your lenses before you go and do your color grade on your scene. Now let's get to the control features of this lens. So there is one ring on it. There's no, if you're gonna call this the focus ring, then there is no aperture ring. Now there is a couple other different controls on the lens here. Let me explain them to you. We've got the M1, M2 position. So that is just a sliding switch up and down, and you can change what this controls. I'm just gonna explain to you how this is set up for me. So in M1 position, this ring becomes my aperture ring, and I'm having it just go focus in an autofocus mode, all right? So M1 for me is an aperture ring. If I switch it to M2, this becomes my focus ring, and then I adjust the aperture on the actual camera body itself. So it's kind of like having an autofocus, manual focus toggle switch for the lens. That's how I have it set up for myself. You can change this if you want to. And then the other thing here is that focus save button, which again is also customizable. This ring, it's got some great grip on it, a great texture to move that around. Rotation is nice and smooth on that ring. Feels great. Now when it comes to autofocus itself, let's do a focus pull test. So here's the shot, and what you're going to see is there is nice and smooth transitions in these focus pulls. It's hitting its focus point every single time. And so when it comes to focus pulls, and I'm just using the viewfinder touchscreen to focus pull here, it's a nice smooth transition. It's not super sharp, and I like the way that it kind of smoothly comes in and the amount of time it takes. Now, of course, you can adjust this to your preference. I did see one person on the B&H website saying, as far as focus tracking, they had it set up on an interview and they were doing some tests, and the person was moving their head around and the focus tracking didn't keep up. And so let's do a live test right here. Focus tracking, here it is, A7IV body. Let's see, if I get in close here, is it going to track it okay? It does seem to lag perhaps just a little bit behind if I'm moving quick. Yeah, you can see it's lagging just a little bit, right? So if I go down and I pop back up, it's catching focus every time. The focus tracking is good. It's just a little bit perhaps slow for what you may desire. But again, you can speed that up. And so I would say focus tracking, autofocus, focus pulls, this lens does a great job. If you're not happy with the speed and the motion and the movement that it provides, then you can go ahead and speed that up yourself. Focus breathing. There is focus breathing present. It is more focus breathing than the 24mm, but it is still less than the 75, which I should be putting out next week. Chromatic aberrations are present as well. You can see those green hues there in the image when you're wide open at T1.9. If you're going to close it down to T5 to even T8, then you can essentially eliminate the chromatic aberrations unless you are in a very extreme environment. When it comes to lens flares, it does have a multi-layer coating to reduce lens flare. You can see is decently minimal. And in fact, whenever you close down, then those sun stars become nice and defined. All right, let's take a little interruption to our program. Let's talk about the manual focused adapter for these VAF series lenses. So why would you get this? Well, of course, on the lens itself, you don't have any distance markings and you only have the one ring, right? You don't have an aperture ring and a focus ring. It's one ring. So to put this on the lens, this is the attachment right here. You go ahead, you put that on the lens, lock it in place, and now you have your distance markings. Now this will likely depend on personal preference. Some people may like this, some people may not. So I'm going to clarify with you that this is right now my personal opinion. When it comes to manual focus throws, whether it's actually with the ring of the lens itself or with its attachment, when it comes to focus throws, focus pulls is difficult to pull off by hand if your distance is a little bit too long. Now, if you're rotating, for example, from 3.5 meters to 8 meters, well, that's really quite a simple rotation, right? And you don't have to move that too far. And that's very achievable. However, if you're really trying to go from foreground to background, then the focus throw becomes really quite big, right? So let's say we're going from 0.6 and I want to go to something 3 meters away. Well, we're going half of the way around. Again, that's getting bigger, but what if I'm going to, something 10 meters away? Well, in this example, you'll see here that I actually do struggle with rotating the focus ring far enough to go all the way into the background. So this is something, these are the plants on my desk right here. You can see them in camera, and it's going to the kind of little bookshelf I've got just on the back wall here. And this is a distance of, let's say, 2.5 meters. I could not rotate it enough in one turn. In fact, you can see I'm actually shaking the camera, I'm moving the camera while trying to get that focus throw. And so again, it may depend on your personal opinion. You may like a lot of space to work with, but as you can see at the top here, it's it's almost 360 degrees of rotation on this manual focus adapter itself. So really huge focus throw distances when it comes to rotating that ring around and trying to hit your mark. Now, having those distances does make it repeatable and it's going to make you a whole lot more accurate. But the problem is having enough room to work with and not trying to, judder the camera while you achieve that focus throw. So really, again, my personal opinion, my suggestion is to use some type of focus follow, focus pull tool. You can find those on Amazon. Just Google focus puller tool, it'll pop up for you. That's my suggestion when it comes to this lens. But hey, you may like the amount of precision that you can get within that. So that's your call. Let's get back to the closing comments for the lens today. All right, let's wrap up today's review, put a conclusion on it. So this lens, and specifically these lenses, are going to be great for those who are looking to color match their projects and make color grading very easy and consistent, that they're not going to have to color match their lenses before they actually do the color grade. So if you want consistent coloring, then these lenses are going to be fantastic for you. Additionally, this is going to be a great set of lenses if you are really swapping them out a lot. If you are using a gimbal on your project, these are lightweight. They're going to keep a consistent balancing on your gimbal so that you're not wasting time during the day resetting the balance of your gimbal. I know depending on your gimbal, that can kind of be a little bit annoying, rebalancing everything out, figuring that out. You want to be quick. You want to be able to do lens transitions, lens swaps very quickly on set. And so these lenses are wonderful. They are small, they are lightweight, and they are all consistently balanced across the set. So these lenses are going to be great if you are a gimbal user whenever it comes to your set. So there it is. There is the review. I know, for example, I reviewed some TT Artisan Cine lenses earlier. I think it was either this year or the end of last year. And these are so much smaller. They're so much lightweight. And I definitely prefer these cinematic lenses to the Artisan ones. It's great to have some autofocus on a cinematic lens. I hope that was informative for you today. If you want some more info or if you want to see the buying links, they are down in the description. Here is Dustin Abbott's review. It's going to focus more on photography for these sorts of lenses. That is it. That is all. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care and remember to let the light in.